Firstly, David, welcome to Dundee Football Club. How does it feel to join the club?
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, it's good. It's very exciting. It's a really exciting time for the club. I think that they've been done really well over the last period, and they just want to try and progress again, and hopefully come in and help to do that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's such a good feeling about the club since I've come in, from all the staff, and I think that the long-term plans I think are really exciting.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey in football so far?
I've been involved in football at a professional level for well over 20 years now. I was at St Mirren way back in the day when I was in charge of the academy there, and I was in charge of the under-20s, and I worked around about the first team a number of times, and I was fortunate enough to be there when the club obviously invested a lot in developing players like John McGinn, Kenny McLean, and even Lewis Morgan, all ones that have been involved in Scotland, were all part of our success story, I think, at St Mirren, alongside a lot of other players. So that was when I was away back when we built that academy to where it was, and I think it built such a good reputation, and I think it really did support the first team at the time. I then got the opportunity to go to America. I worked at Orlando City when Adrian Heath was the manager. I then got asked to go and work at New York Red Bulls, which again was another amazing experience for me personally. From my development, Jesse Marsh was the manager, who I can't speak highly enough about as a coach and a leader. I then come back to the UK. I went to Shrewsbury. I had a connection there, so I went into Shrewsbury. I then progressed from an academy, linked it towards the first team, and then when Steve Cotterill was the manager, became first team coach and still overseeing the academy. And we again made a lot of success with, I think, the team stabilising it, making it a lot better at the time, because it was struggling when we first went in. There was a lot of players come through there, which again I take a lot of pride in, from obviously quite a small club. I then get the opportunity to go and work with Vincent Kompany at Burnley, which again was another amazing experience to work with somebody like him. I mean, his work ethic and his knowledge of football, obviously the people he's worked with, for me, were amazing to work with. And then when I came out of there, I'd come back up the road. I did a bit of scouting with a couple of clubs, but then I went into AFC Fylde. I was asked by Ian Barraclough, who's now at Thistle, to get in there and assist Kevin Phillips. And then before I knew it, Kevin had moved on, and I was the interim manager for the rest of that season. So it's been a really interesting journey, to be fair. It's a short way of discussing it, but it's I've took a lot from that over the years, and hopefully I can bring the knowledge and experience I've got to Dundee.
You've had a lot of different clubs, different experiences. Have you been able to take different things from each of these clubs and experiences?
Yeah, I do think if you're involved in football for this length of time, I think I've worked very hard. I think that's one of the things, is my work ethic. I really try and make it stand out over a lot of things, but I also think I'm very lucky, the opportunities I've had and the learnings that I've had. It's unbelievable to go and obviously work and live in America and work with the people I did, but then some of the exposure I got with clubs when I was there, like go and travel around Europe and visit so many different clubs, that you try and take as much from as you can. And I think that I said earlier, working with people like Jesse Marsh and working with people like Vincent Kompany, you can only learn from people like that, and I think it's put me in such a good position of my knowledge that all you want to do is pass it on to people. I think that I've always had an affiliation of bringing young players through, and then working within first teams over the last number of years. So I've got so much I think I've took, and it's just what you're always trying to do is just try and pass it on to players, coaches, and try and do the best you can to help them develop. And I think that's obviously something that John and Gordon, when they spoke to me about the role, it's something I'm very excited about, because I do think I can definitely add something. And with Stephen coming in with his background, I think that my job is to try and support and assist wherever I can, which I will do, and I'll go above and beyond to do that, to try and make sure the players that we have, whether they be younger players or senior players, try and help make them better. If they've got the right mindset, I think no matter what age you are, you can always improve, and hopefully through time the supporters and people will see that. So.
You mentioned their development, and that's an area you've worked a lot in, football development. It's obviously an area you're clearly passionate about.
Yep. No, definitely. I think that, I know John spoke about that, such a fine line between development and then within first team and winning. And I think everybody wants to win without a shadow of a doubt. What you're trying to do, and I think the club here is, we want to win without a doubt, and I think that's something that fans will want to know that, of course, you want to win, but you're trying to do it in a way that you're doing it with a bit of style, and you're doing it with a development in mind. And I think you can definitely achieve that. I think if you go look across football, there's so many different models to look at and different clubs to look at where that's been achieved, and that's obviously what the club here want to do. So from my point of view, it's a really good fit. I think the role that I've been asked to do, I think, for me personally is really good. I think I've got a lot of experience and knowledge in doing that, and I think I can definitely bring that. So, but it's to try and blend that together, that you want to see all that development at the same time having a team that goes out and win games. And I say my job will be to support Stephen Presley as the head coach as much as I can, to make sure that the team are equipped to do it, and at the same time make sure that every individual within the team are getting supported alongside the staff that are here. I think we can do that. You can see that the work that's been done from the academy through. I mean, I've known Stephen Wright a long time, and he's done a fantastic job here. Scott Robertson as well, when you see what he's done with the young players, there's such a great platform here. I think when you get towards the first team, with Scott Patterson as well, there's some really good people here that have had a lot of success up to this point, and hopefully I can come in and try and assist that, support that and enhance that. And I think if I can do that, then I'll be quite happy. So.
Just taking a step back, just going back to your last role where you ended up interim manager at AFC Fylde. Yeah. Obviously a sort of different role for you, sort of being in charge. How did you find that?
It was, it was fascinating, and I had such a good connection with the players that it was a really hard season for Fylde. I'd been asked by Ian to go in and assist Kevin, and Kevin was great, to be fair, but he had moved on, and it just seemed to happen that I was then in charge of the team. And it was such a difficult season for the players. There was so many external circumstances that aligned where they were in the league. But in fairness to them, I can't fault them. I said that quite openly at the time. They really tried. They worked hard. There was just a lack of quality to try and make sure they got the results they wanted. But I think that there's some really good people there. I know the chairman, and he's really trying to do things properly, and he wants to get them into the league. And I think that I just try to help assist them as best I can to try and put a better platform in place that hopefully they can build on. And I think they will, to be fair. I think they're definitely trying to invest in the right things. And again, it was just an interesting experience from a personal point of view, because I really felt for the players, because it was such a difficult scenario to be in. I think they had 4 different managers, 3 different sporting directors, so it was a difficult situation and a challenging one, but it's something that I took a lot from, to be fair, and I generally think I went out there and hopefully left the club in a better place in regards to the kind of ideas we gave them, and I think that they'll definitely benefit from that moving forward. They've got another sporting director, Stuart Mears, went in, and he is working very hard to try and build a proper recruitment department, a proper support and staff point of view, which I think that myself and other staff try to help to try and put together. But I think they'll be fine, as you can take a little bit of time to get where they want to get to. But no, it was another good experience for me. I've worked in academies and first team over the last 10 years plus. I mean, I was at Shrewsbury, I did a bit of both. It felt I tried to link that as well. But yeah, it was definitely a learning curve from my own point of view, which I'll definitely use to take into this role.
How did the move to Dundee then come about, and what conversations did you have with John and Gordon?
Well, I think they were looking to bring someone in who has got maybe the skill set that I possess, because everybody's different. I think that when you're looking for a head coach to be really focused on individuals, it's very hard, because I think managers, head coaches, their main thing with things is, I think, from the external point of view, is to try and win games of football, and the pressures of that, I think, can be quite high. I think that any manager who had been Dundee over the last couple of years, and before that in any other club, there's a lot of pressure if you look at it from fans and everything else want to win, which is, it's just the expectations of it. I think they're looking for someone that can really focus on the players and focus on the development side of it to support the manager, so that it doesn't just have to be his sole responsibility. So I think it's a really interesting move from the football club, which I think is great, because I think to have that support to give to the main head coach, I think is great, and it allows the players to have someone to come to that can really help them become better individuals. But then what that's going to be is make the team better, because if every individual becomes better, then the team becomes better. I think it's only going to benefit the club. So I think they had identified myself. I think obviously I've been at Burnley before, and I think I'd done a good job when I was in there. They've obviously got connections with Burnley. There was obviously, they were aware of me, so they just asked to speak to me, and I thought it was a really interesting conversation and something that I was really excited about, that I think what they're trying to do, to come in here and try and help develop the club, develop the team, try and link everything together. I think John mentioned that, try and link the sports science together, the academy together, the development squad together, along with everything. I think it's really essential, and I think I can do that. I've done that at a lot of clubs before. The title might be different and the role might be slightly different, but the premise of it is the same, and I think that's something I can definitely help to do.
Just on the role, obviously you've been announced as technical manager. It's a new role at the club. Probably fans are unaware of the role. Can you just tell us a bit about what that will look like in practice, day to day?
I think it'll be quite fluid, I feel, and quite flexible. I think that my role will probably take on a lot of different things. Like at the moment, I'm helping to try and help with recruitment. I mean, like between Gordon and Billy, they're doing a lot of work within that, along with John, and Stephen will have an influence in that as well. So I'm trying to help with that as one part of the role. From a day-to-day basis, once the season gets going, I think it'll be a case of whenever the manager's planning training, it'll be a case of assisting wherever he wants you to do that. And again, every head coach, manager will be slightly different in how they want training to be. So I think my role day-to-day will be what he wants me to do. Over and above that, it's then looking at those individuals within training, how do we try and develop them? And then over and above the main team training, it's then how do you try and implement different structures and strategies and different things that you can actually work with players. That would be analysis, it might be on the pitch, it might be in the gym. So it's really to try and tailor that to each player. So I do think day to day will be very flexible. There'll be a lot of work entailed in it, which is something I'm never shy of doing, is putting the work in and just try to get the very best out of people. I think try to help the staff and get more out of them if I can. And then obviously the more that we can do that is getting more out of the players, so that when it comes to a Saturday, hopefully, it's not going to happen overnight, it'll take a bit of time for that to happen. Hopefully then when fans see the players, that they can see more development. It's going to take time, but from a day-to-day basis we work very hard to make sure we give the players everything we can. So every player that's involved in the squad will go over and above to try and help them become better at everything that they do. There'll be small differences that you'll see, and then hopefully over a period of time you'll see bigger differences. So I do think the day-to-day thing will be a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of everything. I'm happy to get my hands dirty me, so I'll get involved in as much as I can, or as little as I can, depending how John, Gordon and Stephen see that. But from my point of view, it's just trying to help and support the players and the staff as much as I can.
John mentioned in his interview just how important development is to the club. Do you think development needs to be such an important part of the way the club operates?
Oh, of course it is. I mean, I think the success, and it's something that it could be highlighted even more. Like when you look at Lyle Cameron, that's came through the academy, through Stephen, through Scott, into the first team. I think that they've done such a good job with that. The same as what the manager last year's done, that they've given them a platform to play on. Same as what Josh Mulligan's done. I think that, and John said that, you want to celebrate the success that they've came through the academy at Dundee, and I think that that's got to be the blood of the club all the way through. I think there's nothing better than fans to see young players been brought into a first team and moving on. And I think the ones that are still here, like Finn Robertson, etc., you want to see them doing the same. Luke Graham, and then the next stage of that is what other young players can we bring through. And I think you've got to have that, because from a budget point of view, Dundee are never going to be able to compete with the massive clubs in the world. But what you can do if you've got a right structure, and I think that's one of the reasons that John and Gordon want to do this, the more you can bring through your own talent and you can hopefully generate some sort of profit for the club, it's massive. What we want to try and do, that's not easy though, let me be honest about it. It takes a lot of work, and I think there's so much work been done here, so hopefully we can continue to do that. And even if it's players that haven't even through the academy to come into the club, your job is to try and make them better, so then they improve your team, but then also then hopefully at some point, if they do move on, the club then recoups a lot of money for them, which is a business point of view of it. So that development model is so important to run a business, I feel. And again, I've been part of that at clubs I've been before. I mean, at St Mirren we moved on so many players, and I think Dundee are already doing that. It's how you can enhance that and try and take that to another level again, and hopefully I can play a part in doing that.
You mentioned Stephen Wright, Scott Robertson. The under-18s did really well last season, getting to the final of the Scottish Youth Cup. There's a lot of positive signs, isn't there, from the academy upwards?
Oh, it's massive. I think that I think just from a PR point of view, I think it's amazing what Scott and Stephen have done, like getting the team to the final when you've got other clubs that have got, granted, maybe more resources and bigger budgets and things like that. I think it says a lot for the work that they've done. And then the most important thing is putting players into the first team. And I think the biggest thing is what I said earlier about guys like Lyle and Josh and other young players that have progressed. That's the biggest test event that you do. But when you look at the success I've had with that group, and then Scott said that he's really excited about even some of the younger ones that are coming in full time. Our job is to try and create that pathway and make sure they get opportunity. I think the young players have always got to be good enough, and young players have got to have the right attitude and the right mindset, but they've then got to have opportunity to do that. And I look at players that I've had in the past. I said Scotland will play Friday, and I look at John McGinn, how successful he's been, but he needed opportunity. But then John's got to take so much credit because of his attitude, his mentality, which he had. And hopefully, when you look at what Lyle and the conversations I've had in here, he's shown such a great attitude, and that's why he's obviously moved on. The club will get a fund back for that. So I think all to try and do is to try and help support Scott, support Stephen. I say I've known Stephen a long time. He's done an amazing job in here, and hopefully myself coming in can try and support that and try and help to create even more of a pathway.
And what are you most looking forward to about working at Dundee FC? Just working day to day. I think, I say I'm really lucky. I've been involved in football a long time, and over the last number of years I've been involved with the first teams at Shrewsbury. Even though at Burnley I was more involved with the 21s, been round about the first team, but just involved in obviously developing players and seeing how that can work in a match day, supporting managers, meeting all the staff. I think just the day-to-day stuff for me is so important, but then in the short time been in here, meeting yourselves, there's such a good environment and good feeling about the club, meeting all the staff in the office, there's such a good connection. And I think just coming in day to day for me, I just love being involved in football, and I love coaching and love developing players, and if I can hopefully bring that, I've got real passion about what I do, and I do work really hard, and hopefully I can bring that into the club. Like John and Gordon have obviously employed me in this role, and I think there's a lot of trust there, so hopefully I can repay that trust through time and really making a difference in how I can help the club, and then hopefully on a Saturday go and win games of football and get players progressing. I think that's what it's all about. So. And just lastly, what would be your message to the Dundee fans for the season ahead?
I think that one, it's having a little bit of patience initially, but just I think they've got to know that there's a lot of good things going on at the club. I mean, I've come in here, I'm really objective in what I see, and I think their support, I watched it last year with how they supported the first team with the previous management and the players that were here. I thought they were incredible, what a support they gave. I think they've always had that fantastic reputation as a support base and fan base, and I think you just want to continue to see that. And I think all I would say is always just support the players. That I'll make sure in the role I've got, that I work hard. I'll make sure that I work hard, and I know that from the interaction I had with Stephen, he'll come in here, he'll really drive the standards and drive what he's done as a player and as a manager, and obviously being at Brentford, I think he's took a lot of knowledge for that. So all I would say is that we'll make sure that everybody will work hard, everybody will put in the highest of standards, and when it comes to a Saturday, we'll do the best we can to make sure we try and win, and at the same time try to develop. So I would just say come and support, and hopefully they'll enjoy what they see in the pitch, and just keep supporting the team.